All right. Hey, we got the session that's we're gonna keep it loose, guys. We are at 5:50. Okay, we're gonna roll through dinner. If you want to go get dinner and come back and hang out with us, cool. But we are here with Coach Courtney Brown and Coach Nick Hensley, and we are gonna roll with the young ball coach session. If y'all don't know what young ball coach is, I don't know where you've been, but we we get try to get on every week and get on the Twitter Spaces and just talk about being a young ball coach and what that means, and Coach Brown started it, and Coach Hensley and I have come along and kind of rocking and rolling with it. But Coach Brown, how you doing, man?
Hey, so first of all, shout out to you, Coach Tatum, for putting this on, man. I've been all day, I've been tapping in and out, and just I'm proud of you, man. Like, because people, it's so funny that you mentioned the young ball coach, because people were DMing us talking about did we split up or did something happen because you were doing so awesome. And I'm like, that's the craziest thing. Like, I'm so proud of you, man. So like, this is your thing. This has been awesome. And when you asked me to come on, man, it's a blessing because I had nothing to do with it. I'm just chilling like an average Joe. So when you asked me and Coach Hensley, man, all you had to do was say it and we gonna make it happen.
Heck yeah.
So I'm just proud of you throughout this whole thing, putting it on for the coaches, man. Watching those blitzes and pressures, man. He has some funky stuff going on up there, and like I love how like the vertical sets. If you got to deal with it, and it was crazy because Coach Justice, when he was at SMU, he put on a clinic, and he had talked about how they read, like when they're doing 5-man protection or 6-man protections, the tackle really reads the like sound backer, then he reads the second, then he reads the third. Like you would think you automatically worry about the outside, but like he's like, no, because the inside guy is going to tell you what the outside guy's doing. So like watching a vertical set to even where he said it, like I got 4 verticals in before he even threatened my outside shoulder. So like I'm automatically winning because the quarterback knows we can't block everybody. So it's a hot read right now. So like if I can block him for 4 steps, that's a touchdown. Like that's an automatic completion. You know what I mean? So that was really interesting. So shout out to that coach. What was it, Coach Vital? I think.
Yeah, Vitali. Yeah.
Vitali, my bad. Yeah, man. So that's what's up.
Yeah, Coach Hensley, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, man. How you guys doing?
Good, bro.
It's been a long one for you, Tatum.
Do what?
I said it's probably been a long one for you so far. I'll tell you what, man. Man, I saw the clinic start time and I was like, shit.
Dude, I tell you what. So, like, I posted. There was a coach from California. There was a coach from Alaska, and they were like, I was up at 4 a.m. to come get on this thing. I was like, bro, it ain't that serious. like it'll be recorded, But yeah.
But that's really dope, and I think that's where these spaces, and for us, man, like when I started the young ball coach, man, I was just chilling and I was bored, and I was like, man, let me see what's going on. And then like the first one, I was like, holy shit, like people really need this. And then that's when I got with Hensley. Me and Hensley met because we was on with Tom Blazer from 5S1, and he was doing a Zoom meeting, and we were going over like what we run. We were talking about power and how it affects everything else. And then I was like, man, this is a good football dude. Let's get together. Then I met you and brought you on, and then it's like it's crazy how it evolved, but it's like it's so amazing, man. And I think this whole point of this is the networking to go with the game, right? Like even talking to older coaches, like they're on Twitter, but that's because like it's good to be on Twitter. It's easier to flow. It's easier to look up cut-ups. Like Craig Roth, I've learned more about a defensive guy from watching Craig Roth, and I like to tune into him because I want to see what the defensive guys are teaching him. So like watching him just post a video of from Michigan. What's his name? I forget, but like watching him talk about extension of the hands, like, so I train a lot of my guys, like, as soon as the DN shoot his hands out trying to get him, we're trapping it. Like, we're not even letting you get to that point of like pushing us. No, you're getting trapped. Like right now, I'm dropping your weight and changing the momentum, then we can fight. But I think it's really, really dope at watching this culture, man. So I'm just pleased to watch it and see it, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, I'm literally just, everybody's like, man, kudos to you for doing this, and I'm like, I like technology. I like making spreadsheets. Like I like contacting coaches. So all this was. Like, and just, and then getting, StreamYard and just setting it up. Yeah, it was a long time coming, but it is what it is. And I just had guys drop, which is fine. Some guys, one guy, Coach Rogers, was after lunch and he was on Central Time and he missed it. He was like, "I'm so sorry." It's like, dude, it's all good. One guy, I never heard from him. Another guy had a family issue. So I'm like, I'm good. We're going to adjust. We're O-line coaches. We're going to make it happen. So
on the fly, brother. Listen, I was
to.
just telling you, like my first year, man, like we had this team was only a 3-0, like they showed 4-4. They was a 3-down team. Yeah. And all week long in practice, without filling in the back, I got it treated differently. So I'm sitting there like, man, what did they give us a forefront? Like I said to my OC, and I'm like, what did they give us a forefront? He's like, well, they haven't shown it. I'm like, but the team we played last week, we struggled with the forefront. Like, coaches adapt, right? Like, I'm like, what if he's in the forefront? So he's like, all right, let's put it in on Tuesday to see what happens. And so our guys had only Tuesday. And sure as shit, we're in the game. They start out in the 3 front. We start pounding them. The next drive, what do? Come out to the forefront. And like to get into with the young ball coaches, as an assistant, right? When you do like for me, I'm an assistant coach. I'm not an offensive coordinator. I am an assistant coach. Like my job is to be the best fucking offensive line guy for my team. Like, so to study your ass off and put in the work and to develop that relationship with your offensive coordinator, right? Like he should be able to trust you that if he says, hey, it's 3rd and 1, it's 4th and 1, what run play can we do? He should know that I put the work in and I've trusted myself to where I know what my guys are. Like if you asked me last year, the team I had last year, we can run power down your throat, but we can also run ISO down your throat. So if it's 3rd and 1, if it's 4th and 1, I'm going with ISO or power. It don't matter where it's at. It don't matter if it's on the left hash, right hash, boundary, field. Bro, we're going to get after you. And so to fast forward to that playoff game, they were on the forefront, and I was nervous. It was my first time, and the offensive coordinator, as soon as he seen it, he goes, Brown, son of a bitch. And I was like, what? He was like, they're in the forefront. And like, had I not said anything, and again, I was young, and maybe the young, naive part of me said it because most coaches would have been like, no, I'm just going to do it and then get yelled at. But I was like genuinely worried. I'm like, bro, what if they go into a forefront? And like, we were able to adapt. And when people try to say, oh, a forefront versus a 3 front, isn't that different? Hell if it ain't. In a 3 front, like more than likely in a 3-3 stack or 3-5-3, you're telling your left guard, left tackle, hey, you two got the front, you got the 4 tech and the wheel. The center, you got the mic and the nose with the running back. The right tackle and right guard, y'all got the 4 and the Sam. Like, that's what you practice all week to work on passing it off, working on angles. When you get a 4 front, you're like, wait, now I got an under front, now I got an over front, now I got a bear. What the hell are you going to do? You know what I mean? And so to watch the transition into development, man, it's like every year that I've coached, I feel so much better. And it's like, it's funny because when I talk to other coaches, man, like the biggest compliment for me is like, man, when we had to go against the team, like I didn't want to deal with y'all. Like that's the best thing as an offensive line coach. Like regardless of win or loss, you knew you were going to get punched in the face by my guy. And so that's the biggest compliment. And I know Hensley feels the same. Like when I talked to Hensley, he was like, man, this is the year we do it. We don't do it this year, I'm getting fired. Like, because we got everything. Hey, Hensley, I'm sorry, bro.
It didn't go that way, actually. But yeah.
But just having that confidence as a young coach, man, it's like, that's why we started Young Ball Coach, because I've learned so much from so many other coaches that have just impacted. And it's not even always about the game itself. It's about preparation. Like, how do you set up your everyday drill video? Dudes love it because, like, you get that aspect of, like, holy shit, like, what do you do? Like, for me, watching myself tailor to where I don't just get on the clinic and watch, and I'm like, oh, my God, like, O-line masterminds. I don't look at Duke Manyweather's Instagram and be like, oh, let me write down every single thing. Let me do every single thing. Like, because I'm not coaching it that way. But if I'm like, man, I really love how, so like prime example, one of the things I got to get younger guys in their stances was from Finish O-Line Academy from Coach Lake. watching him break down the reason why you put your guys, and I start with the younger guys, not the high school 10th, 11th grade. I'm talking about like 7th, 8th, and 9th. I put them in their stances, and I learned it from Coach Leggett, but he did a lot of different things his way, and I'm like, well, I don't really emphasize it as that, or I don't really do that, right? So it's like adapting and understanding, what are you really good at, like as a coach, and whether that's offensive line, whether that's, defensive line, whether that's linebackers, running backs, receivers, DBs, like get really good at what you do and then build off of it. And you can't, like, there's no, like for me, I'll never be satisfied as an offensive line coach because there's always going to be something that I can improve on. There's always going to be something that I'm like, man, maybe if I talk, even like something like when people say get low, that's the worst thing to tell a kid, right? Because when you say, oh, get lower, I can literally be stand up. And if you say get low, if I do this, did I get low? Yes. But is that where I meant? No. So you got to say like, hey, drop your hips, sit down like you're about to take a shit. Then they're like, oh, okay, now I drop. Like, in that little bit of detail, like most people just be like, man, you got to get lower. Or, bring your foot out. Like when people say that, bring your foot out. People might be like this, but you might not want them as that. You might be like, turn it. Then you got to say, turn your toe. Make sure your toes are facing outward. Then the guys understand. So how you grow and develop as a coach, all predict. And I love what you said, because earlier today, where there was a guy who asked you, like, how do you get better as a young coach? I'm a brand new coach. And you're like, find a mentor. Absolutely. Like, absolutely find a mentor. And don't just find somebody who you're comfortable with and find somebody who's going to tell you, like, bro, you suck. Like, find somebody who's going to be real with you, not tell you what you want to hear, not tell you what you like. Find somebody, like I have a guy, he called me. I was arguing with some dude who runs this page and ranks kids. And he had put a kid who I trained up. I trained this one kid as a sophomore. He went all state. He was an all state first team. They won a championship, like, and he ranked him as like the 15th best guy over. And there was like 3 guys who never touched the field better than him. And I'm like, what are you talking? Like, how does that make sense? My mentor called me like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm getting food. He's like, no, why are you arguing with people on Twitter? Like, you want to be a head coach, you want to be a coordinator. This ain't what you need to do. You're putting yourself in the wrong situation, right? Like, did I want to hear that? Absolutely not. But did I need to hear it? Absolutely. And as a mentor, that meant everything to me. And this was a guy who was my OC, and I thought he hated me. And then I had to realize he got put in a position where he needed to mentor and focus and try to help me as a young coach. And it wasn't his job to do that. And so once we broke that barrier, we became really, really close and started to realize, like, man, we could really do great things together. And so that's just the biggest thing as a young ball coach. And, Hensley, I know you got a lot for you, man. We're here, so we're about to get it on. If you don't know, I can't.
Man, I will say on what you said, I think the biggest thing for a young ball coach is it kind of goes around what you're saying. You got to drop your ego a little bit, right? Like, because especially, I mean, at our staff, we had a gigantic staff for a high school team, bigger than colleges. Like, we had like the highest number of coaches we had in one year was 16 in the whole program. So, like, when you're working with that many people and there's so many ideas and everything, especially as a young guy, like, you just got to understand your place, first of all, like what is the right time to talk and when not to talk, right? Because you're around these dudes who have been coaching for 30 or 40 years, right? But at the same point, like, if you have an ego about it and you let your ego get to you when you're coaching kids or you're in the meeting room, that can have like a huge detrimental effect on everything. I mean, it can just tear it apart, and you won't be open with yourself. I mean, the biggest thing I think for me was like my first year, like, we're running power, but we suck. Like, there's no consistency, right? And so I'm like watching the years back of film, and I'm like, well, one, we suck at down blocking, so I got to teach down blocks better, and 2, we suck at blocking the 3 technique, so we had to reevaluate how we're blocking the 3 technique, what techniques we're using. And then the next year and the next 4 years after that, power is play number 1. And so, I think you got to be able to be real with yourself, and know when is the right time to be real with others around you too, the other coaches on your staff. Because there's a difference between having a coaching voice, right? And then, like, we're sitting in the meeting room, and a guy says something you don't agree with. Well, sometimes when you're a young guy, you just gotta, well, I guess that's what we're doing. So I'll figure out how to make it work, but I don't believe in it.
But then to that point, Hensley, another thing, and this is so key, I'm so glad you said that, because it's not just saying, because what happens is, as a young coach, and I did it my first year, when I didn't agree with something, I was like, fuck it. I guess that's how we're going to do it, and we're going to lose. And that mentality was so bad. So to understand the maturity level of like, I disagree with my offensive coordinator, but I got to understand, if I act like that towards my offensive coordinator, my players are going to feel it. And I think so many times we forget as coaches that we control the environment. We control the narrative. We control the situation of like, there's no reason why I can't be like, if a coach comes to me and he's like, hey, like prime example, we game plan. And I was like, bro, we're going to try to do too much. I'm like, sometimes it's easy for, like, as an offensive line coach, I always said this, like, I had 3 young guys who never played before start. So as you guys know, run the football. It's easier for a young guy to get settled by pounding people than sitting in pass protection, trying to like look at it and trying to figure it out, versus in a run game, bro, we're all stepping left, find a guy in your gap and dominate him. And then once he settles down, now the pass looks like everything is calm. Other people are like, no, we come out and we're throwing the ball. Like, we come out, we score on our first drive, running the ball. We ran the ball 75 yards. Then the next drive, we're throwing the ball and the offensive linemen are getting confused. I'm like, why are we not? But and I was like, but I had to check myself, because the year before I would have snapped out and I would have been like, this is just dumb. What's the point? But I realized, like, in the moment, I still got to be calm. Like on Friday nights, I'm chilling. Like, I'm not yelling. I'm on a tablet. I'm looking, and I sit my guys down and I just talk to them. And I'm like, yo, what's going on? What are you seeing? And teach them the words to say. Like, don't just tell me there's a guy on my inside. No, there's a 3 tech who's turning this. The 30 backers coming. The mic, the wheel, the sound. Whatever we're identifying, those words matter. So talk football. Because it's not just getting you ready for now. It's to prepare you for the future. And if we teach them, 1, how not to communicate, 2, how not to take criticism, and then 3, how not to work with somebody that you don't agree with, we're setting them up for failures. And that's a part of a young coach that we have to strive to be better from. We have to be open up and be like, man, like on the mic, I remember my first year, I was up in a box. I would tell every single thing that happened with the front. Man, they slanted. They did this. They did that. They did this. And then the other coach in the box is like, hey, Courtney, relax. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we know that. We see that. How is it going to help us? He goes, you saying that it's just going to piss the offensive coordinator off. It's just going to make everybody tell you to shut the fuck up. How is that helping? He's like, what you need to say is write down with, and so he told me, and I put it in. I created a document for it. It had what the play call, well, what the down and distance is, what the play call was, and then good or bad, check or X. And then I had a notes section. So I would be able to look. And at halftime, I came down and I'm like, listen, we need to run power, because every time we ran power, we've gotten 7 yards. When you tried to run counter, we got stuck because we couldn't move. Like, and then you got the data, because then that helps the coach. Now you can see it and say, okay, you're doing what we're doing. And then gaining the trust of being in the box and being up top. Like, that's the relationship that you got to build in as a young coach. You try to come in and think you just going to fix everything. And that's not the reality of it.
Yeah. One thing I will say about, especially like with getting a mentor, and I was talking about not just a mentor, get an offensive line mentor. Because like the guy that we're talking about, he was first time coaching high school ball, but first time coaching offensive line as well, obviously. So I was like, I was coaching offensive line, and I thought I knew some stuff, but I'm a humble guy, so I wasn't like, oh, I know everything. But I was like, okay, I got a basis. I know what I'm doing, But then I got with Coach Pearson, which did the pin and pull clinic, and I was like, I don't know anything. He coached offensive line in college. He was an offensive coordinator in college. I got to know what I'm talking about. I have to keep up with him. Because if I'm not doing it right, he's going to overstep me, and he's going to make sure it's right. So I got to make sure that helped me develop. Like, the one thing that's going to help you is you never want to disappoint somebody. So you better be working. Like, I didn't want to disappoint him. I didn't want him to come and be like, well, I don't need Tatum because I can just do it myself. Like, I didn't want that. So it made me work even harder. A couple things I'm going to say. Guys, we're going to keep rolling through dinner. Y'all just tell me when y'all want to quit, but we're gonna keep rolling through dinner. Y'all get y'all's dinner, come back, hang out with us. Make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are rolling on. Coach Rapinick is here. He said he texted me and said, "Hey, I'm gonna come hang out for the young ball coaches." And then Coach Navarro, the guy from Alaska, he says 2 p.m. standard time in Alaska, 8th cup of coffee, 5th pages of notes, still going strong. Appreciate it all. We appreciate you, Coach, hanging out. You're from I think he's from Anchorage, Alaska. So. But yeah, guys, we're talking about young ball coaches, and basically what we're trying to do is for the young guys that don't really know nothing, because we don't know much, but we're trying to say, hey, this is what some things that we've done, this is some things we've kind of figured out as young coaches, so you don't have to sit there and ask your mentor, ask your head coach, or ask your coordinator 1,000 questions. Hey, come ask us. Maybe some things are married up. We're going to kind of talk about how to be a good assistant. That's really big for us. You need to take things off of the guys above you, take it off their plate. They shouldn't be dealing with situations that ain't got nothing to do with them, whether it be a kid in your position group. They start acting up. They shouldn't have to get to the head coach. You should take care of it. Like painting the field, equipment, setting up stuff, taking stuff down, water, those little things that a head coach or a coordinator shouldn't have to be doing. We should be doing as young guys because we need to be grinding and we need to learn. It's almost like an internship. Like you need to get your feet wet and you need to learn how to do the hard things so then you can have an appreciation when things ain't as hard. That's my opinion.
But real quick, Coach, before you even get to like the painting the fields, the getting the water, show the hell up.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Like show up in the weight room. And I think so many times, and I get it, like, unless you're a teacher, it's hard with your schedules and stuff like that, which I understand. But like, even for me, and that's why I have the best support system. Like my fiance is the absolute best, like, because she knows football is a priority. And like, yeah, there's days where it's hard, but like, she also understands like, this is my passion. Like, this is what I do. And so when there's times like, oh, obviously I'm going to have to choose my daughter and my fiance. But for the most part, she knows like football becomes a priority of like anything, like, you know what I mean? And it's like showing up to me matters, like me being in the weight room, like, and kind of, you guys know, so when I got the job that I just got, I was only going to be the tight ends coach and the assistant offensive line coach. But like I showed up and I'm looking and I'm like, all right, he hasn't made a decision on who the offensive line guy is. There's nobody here, and I'm like, we're just going to go through steps. And we're just going to do steps because regardless, I'm still going to be on this football team. And if he wants it done a certain way, we can change that. I don't care. I don't have an ego. But like these guys need to get their steps in. They need to get their work in. And that's all we're going to do. And we just work our asses off just to do that. And when that offensive line coach comes in, he can take over. And I don't have any ego, but these guys will at least know we're not behind, right? And that's a part of it. Like I'm showing up in the weight room every day. Why am I just going to sit here and watch our guys just not develop from their footwork and all we do is 10 minutes. We get a 10-minute footwork period in at the end of the weight room. But everybody has shown up because then the guys who weren't there when I first got there, they were like, man, Coach Brown's down here working with us. Where are y'all at? And then they're like, who's Coach Brown? And then they got to find me. And then when I see him, I'm like, where have you been? Right. So then, all right, now we start to look at, well, if I'm here every day and you're not, when it comes time for a position battle, this kid was here every day. How do I know that? Because I was here every day. And if I didn't see you, 2 and 2, hey, the math ain't mathing, bro. 2 plus 2 ain't 5. It ain't never going to be 5. You know what I'm saying? And so showing up and like to talk about the little things, I think our culture has kind of made it happen. Like everything needs to happen now. And I'm a part of that, like where I'd be feeling like, man, I earned the right to have an offensive line job always. But I had to take the reality of it, like, bro, I'm 26. And like to put in perspective, I was an assistant my first year. Then I went to become the head offensive line guy, but I was in the city league, which is a smaller division of our big football is like the WIPUL. And then we have the PIAA. So the WIPUL is like your guys' section championships where it's really, really big. It's the district championships. And then I got offered, I've been there. I was at West Mifflin, which is like a WIPUL school. And, I kind of felt like, man, if I ever go somewhere, like, I just need to be the guy. But to put in reality, like, that's not what it is. Like, I have to sit and earn the right to be there because I'm still young. I'm still 4 years in. And so what can I do to elevate? What are things that I do that are different? Well, I show up. That's the biggest, showing up, doing all the dirty work. And you had mentioned all those things. Oh, we got a question.
Yeah. Coach Richard Gray said O-line unit a lot of times learns how to handle criticism by how the coach handles criticism. Mentor is key. My mentor, Rich McGeorge, how to be pretty much taught him how to be professional his last year playing and as a young coach. No doubt. Like Coach was talking about, like you got to be calm on the sideline because so much is happening. Like they are on a varsity football game. Teams are twisting and stunting and blinging blitzes and they miss a block and then the quarterback's yelling at them, running back's yelling at them, the teammates are hollering at them. Like that happens. So you got to be the standard. You got to be the cornerstone for those guys when they come to the sideline. Hey, calm down. Let's talk. What did you see? What are they giving us? Let's talk about it. Calm them down. Because like if you get all rattled, you're hooping and hollering, and they're gonna do the same thing, and they ain't gonna be able to think straight. So no doubt, Coach. Let me get to this comment right here. Coach Rapinick, as a young coach who was also blessed to be a head coach, y'all are speaking facts. This is every head coach's dream to have assistants like this. That's what we're trying to preach. We're trying to preach it. Like I'm not trying to say I'm some great assistant, but I try to be. I try to be the best.
I don't give a damn. Look, I don't give a damn what nobody got to say. I'm a toot my motherfucker. Beep, beep, motherfucker. I'm a great assistant. Because the thing is, man, and you share the same quality, Tatum, which is why we get along so much, because we don't know who we don't know. And I think the craziest thing in life is the scariest thing is somebody who don't know anything but think they know everything.
Yeah.
The strongest strength is to know you don't know everything, but you're willing to learn. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where, a lot of coaches make the mistake. Young, old, or whatever is egos. Like for me, like I do individual training, but I'm literally training 7 guys that I'm going to have to go against this year. And I'm like, but my ego, I hit their coaches up and like, coach, what are things y'all work on so I can get them better? How do we talk this? How do we do that? Because I care about the quality that we're producing in Pittsburgh, right? Versus somebody with ego, they might be like, oh, why are you working with him? I'll never, ever say nothing to a kid who's working with a coach. Like, that's your parents' money. That's what they decide to do. But know that I might not agree with it, right? And so to have the conversation, and I think just really, really trying to be as best as you can, man. Like, you can't control because even Tatum, when you ask me about, individual coaching, you're like, well, I don't want to be looked at as a recruiter. Well, motherfucker, don't recruit. If you don't do it, if people say, oh, you're a recruit, bro, then it is what it is. People are going to hate you. People are going to, and I think the Marine Corps taught me that, where it was like, you got to have thick skin, because when you realize it, every person you meet has a different opinion of who you are just based off of what you look like. So there's a million different versions of you. The only version that matters is who you are. Like, what are your morals? What are your values? And, being a good assistant to me matters. Like, looking at the programs, what is the program's motto? Like, what do we want to do as a program and fitting that? And if I find a place where I don't align, I'm not afraid to leave. You know what I mean? Like, I'm on my 4th spot in 4 years, but every single one, it has been development, or I went to a bigger school at a bigger area, but I left those schools because God's telling me I need to leave. It's not fitting me. Like, who I am, my morals, my values, my character, they don't align. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with saying that. And as a young coach, find your spot, find your niche, which makes you different. Like for me, I grade all my offensive line guys, like every single thing. Like I grade them every week, but then when I'm watching that, I started to try to break down tendencies of blitzes, letting the offensive coordinator know, hey, they like the blitz on 2nd down. And if it's 2nd down, it's coming. Like, it was to the point where in our playoff game against Southmoreland, I knew if it was to the boundary, they were going to blitz with their mic and their wheel. If it was to the field, they were going to blitz with their mic and their sound. If it was in the middle of the field, they were never going to blitz, ever. So when did we start to take shots? In the middle of the field. If we ever got the ball in the middle of the field, we were going to take a shot. But if we got it in a boundary, we knew we were going to run to I don't know about you. I love running into blitzes. Like, gap scheme into blitzes, to me, is my shit. Like, you want to try to blitz with the mic? Okay, we're running power. we're running counter right at you. Because it's good if it works, but if my guard or center sees it and they can get their hands on your blitzer, then what do you have? A whole bunch of open space, play the band, let's go. You know what I mean? And so what do you do that's different from every other coach on your staff?
Yeah, be valuable. You have to be valuable, and like you said, show up. Like availability is the best ability. Same thing you tell your kids. Like coach, I'm not the fastest. Well, are you strong? Be something. Be available. Be there.
Just be something.
Be something. Like we used to say, you can't be nothing. Like if you're short, be fast. If you were tall, be strong. Like you be able to jump. Like you can't be bad at everything.
And if you're short, slow, be a good leader.
Yeah, exactly. Like
be something.
Yeah. So but be able to get on the field in some type of way. But like as a coach, at least be able to like, you know what? Tatum, he don't really know much about ball, but man, he sure can get. He sure can. He knows something about stretching. He knows something about the weight room. Like he's valuable. Be valuable. That's all you gotta do.
And you know what's funny, man? It bothers me when coaches like they don't show up and then they go to 7-on-7, like they're the receiver or DB's coach. They don't show up to a single workout in the spring. Then they get to a 7-on-7 and they're yelling at kids about.
And they got the backpack on.
They got the backpack on. They're yelling at the kids about what the kids are doing wrong. And the kids like, bro, you ain't even been here. How you telling me? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be doing it wrong if you coach me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's so funny, man. Like, you see so many guys just fail because their ego. Like, it's okay to have an ego, but I think like egomaniacs. Like, I think there's a difference between having an ego. Like, I have an ego, but I'm not this egomaniac. Like, I can kind of look out, and it's a work in progress. Like, I can step out of myself and realize it a lot quicker now, and that's a part of maturity. Oh, hey, Hensley, welcome back.
Hey, sorry about that. My computer literally just black.
We're talking about value how do you bring value as a young coach? What do you do?
Man, well, I mean, as an offensive line coach, as a young offensive line coach, I actually was about to say this before it went blank. I think you got to realize, first of all, that you're coaching the most important position on the football team for success. If anything is going to happen on this damn football team, we have to move people and we have to block people, right? Like, it's just no other way to get around it. But in that, you get a lot more on your plate than other positions. Not only do you have more kids, but you also really need to be doing more than probably other guys on your staff to keep your room, your unit, as far ahead as everybody else, right? Because your unit's going to be, 30, 40 maybe, hopefully, if you're at a bigger school. But I think, you add value by, one, doing your job and doing it well. And two, obviously, we were talking earlier, you show up for everything. But showing up for everything also means that, the easiest way for you to get your kids to know that you care about them, go show up to the other sporting events that they do every year.
Yeah.
Go show up to the wrestling matches. Go show up to the basketball games. That'll right there make the kids love you. But also it's part of the showing up and being a good coach, right? Make the kids want to play hard for you. That's part of it. I think with that, you also, like Tatum was saying earlier, you got to pick up kind of the load around. You also got to be realistic with how much load you're already taking as an offensive line coach. Because if you're like me and you're doing, hey, in July, we're going to have, one practice a week, but then we're going to have a Zoom call and we're going to have a walkthrough for an entire month, right? And then you got your spring part of the season, and then you're showing up for the weight room, and then you're showing up for fall and doing extra meetings in fall. You're already doing a lot, right? Now, I think the easiest things as offensive line coaches to be picking up for sure is, be the guy that sets the field up, because you already got to go set up the most drills out of anybody. So whether that's, I don't know how it is for you guys, but we had a nice nice little golf cart we could whip around in. So just show up 15 minutes before practice, pull all the pads out that the defensive coaches like to have in the same number every day, and go drop them off on their side, right? There's taking little things too. I'd say like equipment management is a part for an offensive line coach for sure. Most of us are, technically skilled in some way. And, like I said before, most of the guys on the team are linemen. So you're taking care of your own kids most of the time anyways. They break the most stuff out of anybody.
Hopefully. If your lineman ain't breaking nothing, boy, you in for trouble.
Like I love being the equipment guy. Like somebody, like I don't mind going and grabbing my bag with wrenches and screwdrivers and the rest of the parts and going and fixing a helmet real quick. Like I've been fixing vehicles and doing like making stuff in the backyard forever. Like I'm good with that stuff, so I don't mind doing it. Like somebody's like, well, it takes me away from the game. Like the game will be all right, they're right there. You coached them all during the week.
But it don't take you away from it. And I think that's the thing. It's like, bro, you should not be coaching on Friday nights.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about y'all, but like I really, really mean that. Like, I really, really try to strive to where like Friday nights, like the OC can yell at them. Like, I'ma just be calm. Somebody gotta be a Batman and Robin. Somebody gotta be a good cop, bad cop. If they getting chewed out by you, then the OC shouldn't be chewing them out. Like, and I knew that. Like, my OC, the one OC I had, he wouldn't chew him out because he knew I was going to explode. Like, but then I had OC where he was going to chew him out. So I'm like, all right, let me lean on these dudes. Let me support them. It got to the point where I used to tell my guys, I don't care if you got a chance at, like they had a call, I swear to goodness, fuck Coach Coward. And that meant whatever the protection was, we're dropping it. Like, whatever it was, it don't matter anymore. We're all stepping one way. Like, whatever way we call. And the OC didn't care because is it effective? Does it get the guys to do? Yes. When they said that, they knew it was going to be punishment time. Like they thought everybody was him and they was going to punch you. And like being an equipment guy, just doing the nonchalant. Like for me, I used to love like pregame. I love the whistle for pregame. Like leading the stretches. It's my absolute favorite thing to do. Yeah. Like,
dude, I got to do it in Seahawks Stadium this year. It was awesome,
bro. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, there was we had the 1 year where like after we did our stretches, they got their pads going, and then because we were the Indians, like the captain of the team, he was like Indians, and everybody was like, oh, like a big, and we had like 90 kids, and I'm telling you, like that strikes fear in people, like. You know what I'm saying? I always love the whistle for pregame. And like other people be tired, man. I'm juiced up, ready to go. Yeah. Like ready to go.
If you ain't hyped up, like during that pregame or during the course of the game, like you can be tired after the game, win or loss. Like you can be tired after the game, like breaking down the field and taking up equipment. Like you can be tired then, but like you better be jacked up during the game and during pregame because the kids are gonna feed off of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I love doing doing stretches. I did it last year. I'm probably gonna do it this year. But yeah, shoot. But since this is my clinic, I'm gonna talk about it. Just talking about being there, like guys quitting. Like you talk about, so Coach Brown, you talk about being at 4 places in 4 years, but you stayed the year.
Yeah,
you didn't just bail.
And listen, there was one, I swear to God, bro, I almost quit. And I kid you not, the only reason why I didn't was because when I walked, it was the Monday of camp. Or, no, we were in Heat. It was like the Friday before, the Thursday or Friday before camp. And like, head coach said something, and I walked off. And I was like, all right, I'm going home. Like, and bro, none of my offensive linemen practice. Like, they were like, if you leave, we're not practicing. Like, none of us. Like, the whole entire offensive line. And at that moment, I was like, I got to stick it out for the rest of the year. Like, and I knew I was done at the end of that. There was nothing that was going to get me. We could have won the state championship, and I would have left that year. It wouldn't have mattered. but watching your guys. So yeah, I don't quit. Guys who quit in the middle of it, soft.
Soft.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna leave that there. I'm not gonna say much more about that. But
So it's not like you thought.
Hey, and if you commit to have a job somewhere, make sure you show up, because I've heard that one too. The guy literally just didn't show up on day one. Called out. Yeah, I'm not going to coach for you this year. Day one of fall.
That happened. So my second year at North Rowan with Coach Pearson, our D-line coach did that. Literally called him, was like, it was at the end of the year. Called him. He ain't gonna be on there, so I don't care. He literally called him and he texted him, not called him. Didn't have the decency to call. Texted him and said, "Coach, I'm not gonna be coaching. I'm a first year teacher. Blah blah. Thanks for the opportunity. Period." Pearson tried to call him, wouldn't answer. Literally, he did. He literally went across town to our rival that just came off of a state championship to coach their D line, but didn't have the decency to tell coach. That's stuff that you don't want to do as a young ball coach. Like, have the decency to call somebody or show up in person, have a face-to-face, explain yourself. Like, got to be able to do that, man.
Hey, and if your head coach or your coordinator is not open to you going up to him and saying, "Hey, I'm looking for other opportunities. I might be here this year, but I might not be. But I'm letting you know in advance."
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with that. And if they're going to get hurt about it, then they're not the coach that you want to be coaching for anyways.
No
if your
doubt.
head coach isn't trying to help you get to the next spot, then that's not where you want to be. If the coordinator isn't teaching you how to be a coordinator or allowing you to be a coordinator or would be excited for you to be a coordinator, then that's not where you should be.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if that's how they treat you, how are they treating the kids? That's you gotta definitely be at the right place and not be afraid, to go to a different one, especially in high school, right? There's a lot of schools and there's a lot of spots. Yeah. There's not enough guys coaching. So
100%.
If you're in a situation where you're like, this shit sucks, this isn't what it should be, then go somewhere else, man. There's plenty of football to be coached.
Yeah, especially if you're a good guy and you willing to do the hard things and work, there's always a spot going to be for you. Because we're trying to find defensive coaches right now. We interviewed some. We're trying to find defensive coaches right now because guys, they want a title or they don't want to come in and do work.
Right. And I think that's what's funny is for me, I've been blessed to I've been on 4 contenders. Well, 3. Last year, I guess we could have been contenders, injuries, whatever. But even where I'm at this year, it's a school that's known for their football. We've won some district championships. But it's not all everything's put together, right? I'm arrogant enough to where I feel like I can coach anything. As long as you give me guys who want to. The want to is the non-negotiable, right? If you want to, we can work. I don't care who it is. Size, if you I still say this. If you gave me guys who are there's programs out here Central Catholic who recruit, they got the best of the best, or Pound Richland who they bring at least 3 6'5" guys every year. I swear to God, if you gave me them, you would see us you would see me dominate every single year. I get guys who are maybe I'll have a 6'2" guy that I got to work with. But again, it's the arrogance, and I think, like Hensley said, if you can't go somewhere to where you're hey, I'm probably going to explore, not because I'm bad, but these situations happen. There was a situation before I took the job, my defensive coordinator in high school got a head coaching job. And I went up right to the coach and was like, "Coach, I'm going to be real. This situation happened. I'm thinking about it. I'm not saying that I'm leaving." I was like, "But I owe it to you," because that's what I think. Do I need to tell him? Can you just go get a job and meet with him and say, "Hey, I got a different job"? Of course. But your character, you letting him know, "Hey, man, I'm looking for something else." Now let him make the decision. And if you get fired, that's whatever. At least deep down you did the integrity thing, which is let them know, right? You don't want to be sitting there. And because what happens is a lot of coaches, the coach, my head coach now, he was like, "Okay, well, just let me know. As soon as you find out, let me know, because then I need to find somebody. But don't tell me all the way in May, and then you're like, hey, I'm going to be gone. Like, bro, and Tatum was crazy is because me and you had this conversation, right? Like, you told me late about what was going on with you, and I'm like, okay, well, are you looking? You're like, no, I kind of want to talk to the players. Man, fuck that. I'm like, it's about to be January. Like, you're late. Like, and I was being real with you. I wasn't saying that you, but I'm like, nah, dog, like, you need to put yourself, especially because you were growing and getting a name for yourself. And I'm like, and now look at where you're at. Now you're in a situation where you're going to be comfortable, you're going to be happy. And because the circumstances that you left wasn't like you were just quitting on them. Like, no, your head coach left. And I don't know what they're doing after that. Like, I hope I'm not ruining that story. I hope I ain't.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay.
No, legit, 100%. Like, yeah, I was like, I mean, and at the time, yeah, I was like, I want to do things the right way. I want to meet with my kids because these are my guys. Yeah. But I could not get over to that school because the middle school I teach at literally gets out at 4 and they get out at 3, so they went home. Like, I can't get over there. So I'm like, I just FaceTime them. And I mean, because at the end of the day, I was talking to my wife. I was like, these are kids. Like, they half of them could care less that I showed up face to face. But if I call them and I FaceTime, they can see me. Like, that's how they communicate anyway. Like, so they were cool with it. And then I still was able to go see them later on. But like, they appreciated it. So, but yeah, I mean, it was great advice. And it's like, you can't wait. I was given this advice by my late mentor one time. He said, Ian, because I was like, coach these kids, I don't want to leave the kids. He said, Ian, if you stay for the kids, you'll never leave because there's always going to be a new group. You have to go. So that's my thing. I would never, like, I love my kids, but if you feel like you need to move, or you need to move up or move out and move on, go. Don't stay for the kids because there's always going to be a new group you're going to fall in love with and you're going to be stuck again. So that's something I would say.
And like, because again, like, you were willing to like career suicide to be able to have a face-to-face to say goodbye to these kids. And I'm like, when you told me that, I'm like, bruh, I'm like, you can say goodbye, but hey, these job offers is I'm gonna have a job before I say bye to these kids. Like, because if not, you never know. Come here. You want to say hi? Come here. Roby.
Yeah, no doubt, coach. Yeah, if your head coach isn't what you want, move on. The good things will happen. Yeah. But what I will say is, don't move on because things are hard, and don't move on because things are hard because. And don't move on because things that have nothing to do with football are hard. Make it happen, and football will take care of itself. That's what I will say. Guys, there are 27 guys hanging out during dinner. I don't know where y'all's wives or girlfriends or anybody's at, but they letting y'all hang out. But holler at us. Let us know something. But at 7:00, Coach Patrick Galloway from Gettysburg College. How far is Gettysburg from you, bro?
Like 4 or 5 hours. It's on the complete opposite side of PA.
Complete opposite. Okay. Anyway, he's from Gettysburg College. He'll come on and talk some ball as well at 7, and we'll get back started. But yeah, 20 minutes of chilling.
I didn't know that Pennsylvania was that big,
bro. It's not that it's that big, but it's like Pittsburgh is the southwestern, the southwestern part of the state.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally like, so Pittsburgh, like Pennsylvania is like Pittsburgh's here. Philly is like all the way like down here.
That's just crazy though, because like 4-hour drive is like all the way across Washington State. And it's a pretty big state,
Right. Well, maybe they're the same. Yeah, because it's like Gettysburg is near Philly, so it's like Philly is I think like 4 hours and 30 minutes. Gettysburg is like maybe 3:45, like maybe 3:30, 4 hours. I don't like, but I know I passed through. Like, you see the Gettysburg exits on the way to, like, Hershey, PA is near Gettysburg, and Hershey is 4 hours away from me. Like, because it's literally you're taking the toll all the way, like. The toll road is right up by my house, and you're taking that all the way. Like, it's literally a straight shot. Like, once you get on the toll, you don't get off. Like, you just stay on, and it's forever. But, yeah, man, and Tatum, I appreciate you for having this, man. And, like, the young ball coach, there was a couple other things you wanted to ask us about before we go. I know we got 20 minutes, but
we talking about whatever, it ain't that big a deal. I'm just, I want to hit on some, let's see, hold on. If you don't have a fast, aggressive O line, what are some tips to coach zone blocking? Coach Gapskin.
We're talking zone, right?
So
He's talking zone. I'm saying,
man,
if you don't have a fast,
I'll tell you right now,
Gap.
my opinion for zone, you don't need to be super
fast.
fast.
Hey,
You don't need to be fast.
Listen.
You need to move together in a controlled manner. You don't want to sprint at the backer or anything like that.
Bro, so I'm glad you said that because for me, what does a fast offensive line mean? Right? That's first what I want to understand. So when we talk about that, so Coach Fowler, what do you mean a fast, aggressive offensive line? Because fast is a relative thing. Like, what does that like? You don't need to be fast to zone block. Like, zone block is foot in the ground, up and down right now. Power, counter, gap. No. Like, because here's the thing: when you have a fast,
aggressive, not
but
gap.
when you have a fast offensive line who runs gap scheme, they normally miss because they're trying to be too quick to move from the fat guys and they're trying to get to the second level. So fast doesn't always mean dominant, right? Like a smart, technical, sound offensive lineman will help you with any type of pulling line.
Wait, so are we talking gap or are we
How are
talking
you
zone?
pulling?
No, I think he's saying if you don't have fast kids that can pull, and you run zone.
Oh,
yeah. Tips on basically he's saying he ain't got kids to be running gap scheme. He's running zone, so some tips on running zone.
One, run inside zone, right, and then run duo as well to give the defense a completely different look from your back.
Yeah.
Because it's going to look up front like the exact same thing to the linebacker. Fuck, it's inside zone coming right at me. I'm plugging. And then he goes the wrong way as the backside linebacker. And even if you don't block the front side linebacker, now your running back's one-on-one, right? Like, even if your kid misses the front side linebacker, like, you're still good because that guy's read is now messed up. And run the piss out of bootleg and read the backside of your inside zone if you can. To help your kids out, because if you're not going to be able to move people or not be able to pull people, and you got to build it around zone, it's got to be more than just zone. You got to kind of, if zone's the play, you got to build all the way around it. And then as far as like the non-aggressive part of it, I would say teach your kids zone in a style of combos. Don't teach it as zone like, hey, I'm taking my A gap to the right.
Yeah.
Teach it as, okay, you two are going to combo these two. Here's how we're going to work the combo, right? It might limit you against certain looks, but the kids will get more help. So that will actually hopefully give you more success. You're
responsible for this gap.
Yeah.
You're responsible for this, your play side gap, but y'all are double teaming here to here.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even, you don't even need to really probably say like, hey, you have this gap. You could literally just be like, okay, let's just say a standard 3 front, right? Okay, the front side's doubling the front side DN to the backer, right? Like, you're 2 for 2 there. I don't care. We're 2 for 2 there, right? If you get some crazy looks from the defense, sure, like, it's not going to put you in the best situation, but you're going to get your kids help, because if you got smaller guys or guys who are big but not aggressive, they're going to need some extra help to get the initial movement at least going. The other thing I would say is, if your kids aren't aggressive, you got to try over the 4 years that you have them to teach aggressiveness into them. Whatever trigger that you can find for the kid, whatever it is. Like, I had a kid, he's 6'5", 290 pounds right now. And he should be like at least playing Division II. I don't necessarily know if he's Division I material, but like as a freshman, he's the biggest kid on the whole football team, but he doesn't hit people. But then when you would see him turn it on, he takes 2 guys at one time and throws them into the backfield on defense. And so you're like, well, it's there. Now, how do I just get it out of him? And so for him, it was always him making a mistake. So he would have to go out in a game and make his first mistake before he turned into the dude. But all it took was me going out and he makes that mistake and going, hey, you need to flip the switch on. And once I tell him that, he goes, oh, shit, right. And then he goes out and just demolishes a guy for an entire series.
But then, so to add to that, Coach Fowler, the biggest thing for me is finding out the why. Normally, when you get guys who aren't aggressive, there's two reasons why. One, you can say it's because they're just not capable, right? But then two, it's more than likely because of what? Because they don't know what they're doing. If you want guys to be faster, if you want guys to be better in understanding, they have to know what the fuck they're doing. If a kid is in a situation where he gets, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Am I down blocking? Am I moving? If there's a lot to think about, he's not going to understand it. That's the way you slow down. If you know what you're doing, like for instance, if what Hensley said, for double teams against a 3 front, it's always, to me, right tackle, right guard. You have the 4 and the set. Let's say it's the will. Center and running back account for the nose and the mic. And then right, left guard, left tackle. You guys account for the 4 and the Sam. Like that's how we block it. So all week long, they know you two account for these two. So if for some reason the 4 turns into a 5, the tackle takes the 5 and the guard still has the linebacker. It doesn't change. If the 4 becomes a 3 and the linebacker moves to a 5, guess what? Guard, you got the 3, and then you put them through those situations. Monday, the biggest thing as coaches, the Monday install is the most important day to talk, to walk, to get them guys to ask every question, because the more they can figure out why, right? Like I don't teach guys how they need to do something first. I teach them what they need to do. I say, hey, we're going to block this way. How you get to that point, y'all two can figure it out. Y'all two can deal with it. But we are going to account for these two. We are going to do this. So then Tuesday comes, and then we drill it, right? We do the combos. We do the mixing the combos, the going, and then we do a blitz package, right, on Tuesday. So then they can see it. They're going to mess up. Mistakes are going to happen. How do you fix mistakes? More reps. That's it. Don't overcoach. Don't try to fix. Because if you're fixing who they are in the middle of the season, they're going to be confused. Teach them to know what they're doing. Everything else will take care of itself. That's at least where I'm at. Like, you know, we don't value the knowledge of the game. We don't value that Monday walking them through, like literally bird dog. I call it bird dog, where we're literally going to walk through every single thing and your eyes are going to be up. Like a lot of the times, why do people struggle with blitz packages? Not because they're tired, not because they're lazy, because they can't see what the hell is going on. The guard never sees the linebacker walking up because his head's down at the ground. He'll never pick it up. The guard can't see the twist because he's not looking around. He can't see out his side view that the DN has turned into a wide 5, and that means something's coming. Like teaching them the game of football, and it starts with the preparation on Monday. It starts with how are you putting guys in scenarios to be successful, man? Like that's where I'm at in my coaching, like really helping on Monday and on Saturday. Like what did we do bad in the game plan on Sunday with the coaching, and then implementing on Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday, Tuesday, you're going to make mistakes, put them through the fire. Wednesday, you're still going to be making mistakes, but it should be a lot less than what it was Tuesday. By the time Thursday happens, we should be, for pregame, it should be locked in. Friday, let's execute and let's win.
What I'll say is I love what Coach Small said. You know, tired, confused, or lazy player looks the same, but it's your job to figure out which. Like, either he's tired, okay, you need to figure that out. He's playing slow. He's confused, doesn't know what he's doing. You need to teach him. Or he's lazy, you need to pull his ass out. Like they all look the same, but you got to figure it out. You got to be able to actually, you know, have some critical thinking in your mind and figure it out. One thing I will say is, and I've battled this a lot, is when coaches say, and I think it's lazy, when coaches say that you can't teach toughness.
Bullshit.
Bullcrap. The thing is, it's the environment in which they are in. It is the circumstances in which they find themselves in. Are you putting them in position to have to make tough decisions? Are you putting them in a position to have to be tough? Are you putting them in a position to be aggressive? Because one thing I will say is, when if you see a dumb kid, right? Let's just say he's dumb. More often than not, he's not dumb. He's been told he's dumb, and he believes it. But if you put a kid in a position every day, this is culture, this is standard expectation stuff. You put them in a position where they have to either sink or swim on being aggressive or being tough. Eventually, if you do it enough, you do it consistently, they will either sink or swim. And more often than not, if they want to play ball, they'll swim. They'll figure out how to be tough. If you put them in that position and you make things hard, they'll figure it out. But if you coddle them, or you just say, nah, he ain't gonna get it, or he ain't no good, you just throw him to the side, or you put him down on JV, and he's at the end of the bench on JV, he ain't never gonna get any better. And you're a crappy coach. So,
hey,
another one thing on inside zone also, if you're struggling to get like vertical displacement, especially against the even front, you can use like the gallop technique, the rock back technique from the Crowler sled. That's pretty much the two names that I've heard it called by. But and you can get more vertical movement as well against certain looks. It's a little bit more on the teaching end, but if you're struggling with getting movement on inside zone, you can go to that, and it'll help seal off a lane and give more vertical push. Something we did in the past.
And then what Coach Tatum says. So like when people talk about like the like dumb or the like not coaching, like, man, I listened in August to Coach Tomlin talk about people seeking comfort in coaching, like they're uncomfortable with coaching, and that is such a big thing. Like, for me, I was down, and you guys know this because we talked about it. Like in the playoff game, I was on my 10th offensive lineman, 10th, and guess what? We should have won the game. The guys who knew what to do blew the game. But guess what? When I say the guys who knew what to do, I'm not talking about players, because very rarely are games lost because of a player. It's always on the coaching staff. You can't tell me any otherwise that losses aren't by the coaches. Whether it's what y'all allow at practice, whether it's what you allow to happen, whether it's what you figure out, a lot of these losses happen because coaches don't want to coach. What you get away with in practice in a pregame, if you shitbagging and you jogging and you ain't doing what you need to do in pregame, what you think you're gonna do in a real game when the bullets start flying? You're gonna do the same exact thing. If you're not, and that's like, with the whole, a kid's lazy, confused, or whatever. Like, if he's lazy, why is he lazy, right? Like, if you're a coach, you're with that kid every day from spring to fall. Why is he still being lazy? Like, I remember, like, when I got hired on at West Mifflin, when I first got there, the first day, we had a senior. He was going to be a 3-year senior starter. He was a senior. And I was talking, and we had the guy who had been the O-line coach. He's the middle school head coach, but he still came up. So he was like explaining stuff to them. And like, I was telling them to do it one way, and then the O-line coach had said something, and then he's like, "Oh, do you think I have a free?" Oh, he told him he needs to be 45 degrees. And the kid goes, "Do you think I have a fucking ruler?" And I like stopped. And it was my first day I ever met him. And I said, if I ever hear you talk to a coach like that ever again, you will not fucking play on this team. I was like, I will make you do burpees. I will make you do something during the entire practice that you will never, ever want to utter those words ever in your freaking life. And he stopped and like looked. And he like came up to me at the end of Coach, I apologize. I said, I don't take those apologies because you shouldn't even be in a situation. I was like, I don't know what it's been like before, but this ain't what the standard is. We on a new tip. Man, he became my favorite kid. He became every week, and it got to the point where we had problems. And then it came the Monday of camp. I told him everybody's gonna come out to snap. He was gonna be the backup center. He didn't want to do it. So I told him come out. He didn't come out. He said he was tired, whatever. I said, all right, if you're not there by the second break tomorrow, you're not gonna play. Sure shit, Tuesday came. He came 1 minute late. I sat him down and I took him off the starting 5. So Tuesday afternoon practice, Wednesday practice, he was not on the starting team. He didn't even get a rep. And the head coach was like, why are you punishing him? And I'm like, because he needs to understand the value of playing here. We got a guy who's younger than him who's capable and will listen. We don't need him. And you seen he was like, it came to the point where like Wednesday came and he was like, Coach, like, are you really not about to play me? But then during that, he came out early every time he was the first one out. He was a leader. He was picking stuff up. He was doing everything that a leader should. And it was because he knew that he messed up. But for the first time in his life, he got held to a standard. And I didn't cuss him. I didn't treat him any bad. I still coached him hard when he was on the second group. But he knew he should be on the first group. Man, he became a leader. He became a captain. And it got to the point, man, like at the end of the year for senior night, we were walking and I was like, man, I'm so proud of you. He's like, Coach, you changed my life. Like I would never be anywhere without you. Then he blew his knee out on one of the last plays of the game. And I'm like, that broke my, like when he got hurt, like I went to the tent and it like broke my heart because when you built that relationship, like, and when you're there, man, I spent every day of the summer, every single day with practice with this kid. And to watch him get hurt on senior night to where he wouldn't even be able to play football ever again because he wasn't going to college. Like that broke my heart, man. Like, and so when you talk about lazy, why are they being lazy? Man, there's kids who they wake up with the lights off. They can't do laundry. They gotta dry their laundry in the sink. They gotta eat breakfast at school because nobody cares. Nobody tells them they love you. And you're talking about why? More than likely a kid's being lazy because he's tired from whatever reason. He's doing other things. And so what is really a coach? What is your job as a coach? Because if you don't say a mentor, if you don't say a leader, then man, you got to reevaluate what you're doing. Like you got to reevaluate the things that you value as a coach. Because if you're not coaching the mentor young men, you ain't going to get far.
Nothing coming out, Tatum.
Thinking. Literally, I started saying a little thing came to my face. It was like, you're muted, idiot. So 3 minutes until the next speaker. Guys, I'm going to let y'all wrap up real quick. But every Tuesday, hopefully, if we feeling like it, we ain't really felt like it. We had stuff going on the last couple of weeks, guys. But when everything's on and heck yeah, hey, that's Coach's why right there. Hey, but if we're on, we are on Twitter on Tuesdays, doing the Young Ball Coach Twitter space. Come holler at us, come join us, come listen to us rant and have a good time. But Coach Hensley, you got any last words?
Yeah, find ways to break through to your kids, whatever that means, because it's different for every kid. Some kids need love, and some kids need to be told honest, true things. You know, I think the biggest breakthrough that I ever had with a kid, I mean, you're talking about a kid that shows up to football, doesn't want to be at practice, doesn't, whatever. He's finally like a junior, and he's like, how come I didn't get a play? And I go, did you do what your coach told you to do? And he says, no. I'm like, okay, then you suck. And that's what I told him. And he, like that little like honesty of like, then you suck. Like, I don't know what to tell you. If you're not doing what coach is telling you to do, then you suck. Like, so you're not good. So until you start doing what he's doing, like in his eyes, you're not good. And, that broke through that kid. And the next year as a senior, he's showing up. He's finally a leader. He's finally like figuring his life out, his personal life, just from the fact of like, sometimes you just got to bring them to reality, but you got to, do it with brutal honesty. And sometimes kids are going to need that. And then there's other kids that'll shut down if you do that. Yeah. So find breakthroughs to your kids, whatever that means for each individual.
Coach Brown, Coach Henley took out most of your time, but last thoughts.
If you're not first, you're last. No, I'm kidding. But to be honest, man, don't ever take for granted the impact of a coach. You can change lives, and that's your job. And if I don't teach y'all anything else, the two most important days of your life are the day you are born and the day you found out why. Mark Twain.
Appreciate y'all, guys. I'm holler at y'all.
All right, man. Take it easy.